Hi everybody, I'm Alex Peal from Sonic Stadium. I'm here today with Aaron Weber, the Sonic brand manager.
Hi guys.
And we've got some questions for him.
All right, ready.
So now there's been a huge paradigm shift in the quality of Sonic games over the last several years, but especially starting with Sonic Colors. So could you tell us what SEGA has done to improve the quality of the games?
Well, there's been a lot going on, and this is something that I think has been taking place across a lot of different teams at SEGA. It's a lot of different groups working together to ensure that Sonic games are of the best quality that we can manage. It starts at the very beginning from an early concepting stage about the games. It continues all the way through to the very end, and I think one of the biggest things that you can compare this to previous games, right, before Colors, right? In fact, years before Colors. One of the biggest things I think that the games need is just time. And it's time, in one hand, to perfect the formula, to ensure that what you're doing is right and fun and enjoyable. And it's also time just to ensure that the game is very polished and just on the whole has this really amazing feel to it. And so I think more recently we're seeing that with Lost World. You've noticed, like, we've had Colors and Generations that did very well with Sonic, even in 3D, and people were saying, wow, Sonic in 3D is working. But with this one, we really wanted to make it not just work, but to work really well. And so that's why Lost World features the new differences, like the button to run, the button to spin dash, and giving players the choice over their own speed. So kind of got off on a tangent with Lost World there, but just kind of explaining, yeah, it's really all about time and taking the time needed to do it right.
And so certain other games, such as one that ends with a 6, that didn't necessarily have that kind of time.
I say this every time, but you got to remember that game never actually happened.
Yes.
And I wasn't at SEGA at that time. I don't know the full story on that, but what I can tell you is that the games that we're releasing now, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, are Sonic games that have had quite a bit of time in development, and I think it really shows in the quality and the end result that you get in those games.
So, in Sonic Generations, though Eggman is on your side, supposedly, the robot, you're still beating up his robots. So why is that?
It will all make sense when you play the game. I know a lot of people are like, why are you fighting Eggman's robot? I don't get it. It will make sense, I promise you.
Okay. So, Generations, the story of Sonic Generations was pretty bare bones. Can we expect Lost World to have a similar kind of bare bones storyline, or will there be more meat to it?
There's a bit more meat to it, in my opinion. So Generations was very much a focus on nostalgia, right? And we were looking back at the 20th anniversary and really wanting to make it an awesome thing and go into those levels. Lost World is different, and then our primary focus isn't necessarily that nostalgia and bringing back those old levels and doing that well. It's about presenting this new world, a new continent that floats in the sky, and 6 new enemies. And so for us, it's very important not only to tell the narrative that explains who these enemies are and their personalities and what they're like, that's the Deadly 6, but also to kind of give you a new look at Eggman in a way that you probably haven't seen him before in most previous Sonic games. And so Sonic and Eggman teaming up, and of course Tails will be there in a lot of the cutscenes too. Seeing those 3 together, I think, is going to prove very amusing for a lot of the fans as they play through the game and see the cutscenes.
Cool. So maybe it's something more along the lines of Colors, but lots of humor and stuff.
Oh, there's definitely humor. It's also got a couple moments that not to say it's dark or it ages Sonic up too much, but I think there's a couple moments where you're going to see, things that Eggman might say or do that you're like, wow, wow, that's kind of cool. So there's a lot of refreshing moments in the game that fans will enjoy.
So who's writing this game? Because Sonic Colors had new writers that kind of managed to inject a lot of humor for Western audiences. So are they back for this game, or is there another group of writers?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's the exact same writers, and you might also know that they've done a lot of stuff for Sonic not in the past, but other stuff as well. One of them was the guy that wrote the "You Are a Pirate" song, which I think is a phenomenal song. So yeah, it's some really talented team that we've got working on it, and I think a lot of fans really enjoyed their work in Colors, and so if you enjoy the work in Colors, then I think you'll enjoy what you see in Lost World as well.
Cool. So Now, Ice Factory. That clearly what you showed us was not
Frozen
an Ice
Factory.
Frozen Factory.
Yes.
Clearly, what you showed us was not a Frozen Factory.
That's right.
And the desert stage, clearly not a desert stage in the typical sense until you add the extra S.
Yes.
Why are these kinds of stages being included that have nothing to do with the theme of their name?
Yeah. My first response would be, well, why not? But then I'll go into a lot more detail here. I mean, typically Sonic games are broken up into different zones, right? Every zone has a similar theme that takes you through multiple acts or levels within a zone. In this game, we've had a bit more fun with it. You're gonna see stuff that will make you think, oh, Frozen Factory. Okay, it's like the Frozen Factory. You'll see those elements, so don't worry about that. In the same way that you're gonna see stuff in the Desert Ruins that is actually, hey, Desert Ruins, right? Like on the 3DS, I think we've already released some footage of that where you're in the pyramid.
That was in the demo, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll see that kind of stuff in there, but you're also going to see us having a bit of fun. And we wanted to make it so when you're going through a world here, one of the worlds like Windy Hill, or when you're on the Desert Ruins or Frozen Factory, every now and then you get to these levels that you're like, oh, well, this is new. I wasn't expecting this. But it should be a really cool moment when you're like, oh, this is kind of nice. This breaks up the pacing a little bit in a way I wasn't expecting. And so I think anytime that we can do that we can add a bit more to the game to make it more unique, more engaging, that's a great thing.
Okay, but why not call the casino? Well, yeah, I guess it does.
You could argue why not split it out, right?
Yeah.
I think in our case, it's all about this fits within the Frozen Factory in the same way that Desert Ruins, because the little S pops up in the final game, it adds an S on the loading screen of the level. Desert Ruins exists within the Desert Ruins, and it's just a pun. It's just kind of a joke. In the same way that the casino level is part of the Frozen Factory world, so it exists within it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Frozen assets, I guess.
So, now for the past several games, really since Sonic Rush Adventure, but including Colors and Generations, the handheld games have actually had online play, whereas the console versions have not. So, I actually need to look at my exact wording for this one.
No problem.
Why is that? How necessary do you think online is to play? Is in a Sonic game?
So how necessary is online play for the console? Or sorry, the handheld versions?
Well, for Sonic games in general, really. But why do the handheld games have and the console games don't?
Well, I think most often it's sometimes easier to do sort of like a local play with the handheld versions. For the console games, I think it's nice to have. When Generations came out, I played as much as I could to get on those leaderboards, for speedruns and stuff like that. So I think it's great to have. I don't know personally I feel it's a requirement, but I think there may be some people out there that really enjoy it. And so personally, I think as many options as you have for players and for fans to have those modes that they enjoy, it's good. So that would be my answer to that question.
All right. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of people asking whether or not Lost World has the Hedgehog engine or utilizes it. Do you have anything to say on that?
Nothing that I can really say right now. I mean, when you look at the second Desert Ruins, I want to say Desert Ruins, Desert Ruins level that we've already shown off at E3, and likewise here, you'll notice that it does look a little bit like Generations modern Sonic levels where you're running really quickly, the camera's behind Sonic, and you're moving forward as quickly as you can. And that, of course, was like Unleashed, the daytime levels. However, the engine itself, I don't know if that's the case, but what I can say is that a lot of the gameplay mechanics have kind of evolved and transitioned through from Unleashed to Generations, from Generations to Sonic Lost World.
All right. So now let me just make sure I didn't skip anything. All right. Now then, this final question was my last question at E3. I like the answer to it, but unfortunately we didn't put the interview up.
Okay.
So obviously you can't actually answer this question with any kind of answer, but
okay. All right.
But what is your feeling over the third mysterious Sonic game?
The third mysterious Sonic game.
Yes.
We're talking about that.
For you.
Yes. So you want my feeling so that you can kind of get a hint, right?
Yes.
That's what we're going for. I can't give you a hint, man. here's what I'll say. You know, Mario and Sonic is the first title in the 3-title exclusive partnership.
Yeah.
Sonic Lost World is the second, and then we have the third title that has not been announced yet. So, I mean, I'm very excited. That's my feeling.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. That's pretty much all I can say. So we hope
That's
you guys.
all I want.
Yeah, perfect. So we hope you'll enjoy Mario and Sonic and Lost World.
Yeah. Well, Lost World's been pretty good in the demo, so
Good to hear.
I think a lot of people will.
Excellent.
So that's it, everybody. Hope
All right.
you enjoyed our interview, my first video interview on camera. We'll be seeing you later.
All right. Thanks, guys.